Good evening and salutations, my Beyond the Gates fans. Okay, so this Anita and Vernon conversation, if I want to spitball it and just kind of fast track this whole segment of the episode, she is still blaming herself for Barbara's death. And Anita and Vernon pretty much said what I said yesterday, right? You don't know what was going on in her head when she decided to do what she did, right? And this was, you know what I'm saying, like, she keeps saying, well, this is her fault. But like I said yesterday, that didn't just happen because she decided to do what she wanted to do. Because she wanted to sit there and get away from the group, right? That was something that she was internally battling for probably quite a while. That they didn't know. You know, oftentimes like that, you just don't know what that person's really going through. And, you know, like Vernon sat there and said, it's not going to, like, what is beating yourself up going to do ultimately? Right? Like, what is it ultimately going to sit there and do? It does nothing for you. And, you know, on some level, I understand where Vernon was coming from. Because I've been in situations where I've been sitting there trying to cheer somebody up, and they've just been hell-bent on tearing himself up. And I admire Vernon's patience, because it does get to a point where it just seems like it's a never-ending battle, right? It really does. And that's all it generally comes down to. Is him trying to find the right words to sit there and say to make her feel better. And ultimately, what it generally comes down to is like, you know, listen, I get regret, right? But the thing with Anita is that she's done stuff in her life to balance the scales, right? I don't believe, I believe in balance, and I believe you do good things in this world, and I believe you do bad things in this world. And I like to sit there and believe that as long as you put enough good out into the world, it doesn't negate the bad stuff, but it doesn't make it as awful as what you did on this planet. And I think as long as she has that mindset, I think she'll be fine. But the problem is, for 20 to 30 minutes, or however long this episode was, that's what she generally wound up doing. And, you know, Vernon's not there talking about, oh, you should sit there and get the band back together. It was a huge mistake. Because the only thing that you wind up doing is inviting this trifling ass, bitter, dusty ass old woman back into her life, right? She's literally sitting there saying, I'm just going to use her, and I'm going to sit there and get my career back to the top. I'm like, okay, so this chick is going to sit there and get her pathetic ass music career back to the top. Oh joy. Right? And that's essentially what she does. That's what she talks about with Tracy. And Tracy is like, you need to sit there and just be honest with her. I feel like Tracy's the type of girl that would just sit there and go along with the flow. Even though she seemed like she was hell-bent on, constantly berating Anita on what she did. Right now, she seems like she's gonna just go along with it. You ever just see two friends and you can just tell which one is the dominant one? We can tell that Sharon is the dominant one. And that's what she's going to do, right? Now, here's the thing about this Bill, Haley, and Naomi scene. The reason why it just annoys me with Bill in this scene is that he just seems like he's putting these women in unnecessary stress, right? He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to leave. He doesn't think it's a big deal. And, Doug ultimately just said, listen, you go home, you follow the steps that you need to take, you'll be fine, right? And, when Danny does come, Danny explains, like, I've known him, out in the world, he's larger than life. But there, he feels like he's mortal, and he feels like he's not in control. And I think that's what a lot of people feel like when they're in hospitals. They feel like they're not in control. But you are literally stressing these women out that generally do love you and do care about you. You are putting them through unnecessary stress by essentially acting like a goddamn child. You know? I'm like, bro, if you're not going to sit there and do this for yourself, at least do it for these women. You know? You know that you're in the wrong when Naomi and Haley are agreeing on the same thing. Right? So while that's going on, Naomi calls vapid ass Chelsea. I'm going to be honest, any scene with this girl is nothing short of torture. Listen, I get it. You have an hour to fill, and sometimes somebody's going to get the short and stinky part of the show. And I'd rather it be her than anybody else, but this is just what it comes down to. So she doesn't answer her phone, and she sees some thirsty ass chick that has been practically eye fucking her since she sat down. So what do? They have this conversation, they get to know each other, and they're flirting with each other, and I don't know. It's just the dialogue that she uses just makes a scene like, imagine nails on a chalkboard. That's what it's like every time that she talks. And I'm trying not to make this video too negative. That's why I was like, let's just get this part out the way. Anyway, they talk or whatever, and eventually she does sit there and see her phone. Kind of feels like shit, and, like, maybe you should have, picked up the phone. But to be fair, I've had people that called me and I didn't call them right away, so I get it. It's just, unfortunately, we had to sit there and sit through a scene with her. Now, I guess we'll sit there and go to the other woman that is, well, she's not vapid. She's just extra, and she is very entitled. And you know what I'm sitting there talking about. Chelsea, who has to be told by Jacob, you don't run this shit. I do. I'm the one that decides where this investigation is going, And he tells her about that he has a lead, he has a warrant, and she's like, okay, cool, let's go. Did you not hear a goddamn word that he just said? This is the problem with Chelsea, right? I mean, this is the problem with Kat. Kat will sit there and say, well, I'm more than just a rich girl, right? But then when Jacob sits there and tells her, hey, listen, I don't want to compromise the investigation. I don't want her to get off on any charges or anything like that. I don't want to put you in harm's way. You know what this chick does? She's like, well, I'm going to sit there and take her down with or without him. So pretty much everything that we sat there and watched for 20 or 30 goddamn minutes of him sitting there telling her, well, it's not cool to do this, but we shouldn't do this, well, we shouldn't do that. You go and you decide, I'm going to do what I want to do. But yet she'll sit there and claim, I'm more than just a rich girl. Okay. You keep believing that. If hey, listen, I get it. Sometimes people gotta sit there and tell lies about themselves to get themselves through the day. And if you want to sit there and think that you're more than a rich girl, like, whatever, fine. But it's just one of those things when, I think she said that twice. But, now let's get to Leslie. Right? Leslie goes in the hospital. Shanice is like, hey, listen, you can't be here. Leslie is like, well, this is a public place. What are we doing? Why don't you just get security to escort this chick out of here? Because the only thing that she sits there and says is, well, just don't go in any rooms, don't go anywhere. If you was that worried about her going somewhere, then you would have got security to escort her out of there, right? I don't know if she's banned from the hospital. I know she's banned from her room or whatever, but she could have did more than what she did. I felt like if she would have walked away and she would have been like, just don't go in any rooms, she would have went in the goddamn room. And then Shanice would have been like, I told her not to go in any rooms. Did you do more than just tell her not to go in any rooms? Well, I made it very clear. Shanice, how did you get this job? I want to know, how did you get this goddamn job? Because you just, ugh. But we go through the whole thing, and Shanice drops that Andre has the footage or whatever. So she approaches Andre, and Andre is like, listen, I'm gonna stop you right there. And she's like, I demand to sit there and see the footage, or else what? What are you gonna do if he doesn't show you the footage? But he does, because, well, I don't even really know why he does, but he does sit there and say that he's gonna bring it. He takes a picture of her. He's like, I'm gonna bring that to the cops and, help them out with this investigation. Before then, well, he finished having this conversation that went nowhere with Danny about him wanting to be more than just, more than just a casual thing, and her pretty much sitting there saying that she wants things to be where they are because that's what she can handle right now, and I feel like they're just going to keep having the same goddamn conversation until one of them is just like, this ain't going to work. I'm just wondering how many episodes we're going to get through before we get to that point. Or they're just going to sit there and have the same argument and then have sex and then be like, oh man, this is so great. We had mind-blowing sex. Now let's sit there and talk about the same conversation that we got into an argument about. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Right? So we got that going on. And again, Danny does come there, and she says some words to Bill, and Haley looks like she's jealous, and then afterwards, Bill's like, oh, I know what you're thinking. We have a connection, it can't just sever like that, and it is what it is. She's gonna sit there and feel a little insecurity about that. Ultimately, doesn't seem like it really goes much of anywhere, but I'm like, God damn, bro, you were just being extra. Maybe Chelsea will sit there and come there. Maybe Chelsea will sit there and see how her dad's doing. Or maybe she'll just sit there and act like the vapid little chick that she is and just be like, oh, I'm going to be in my feelings. I'm not going to sit there and talk to you because I'm mad at you still. Like, being in the hospital should just kind of be like, okay, I could be upset, but that's still my dad. But I don't think that she has that maturity level to actually do that. So I think that's what we're going to wind up seeing. And I'm not being a dick. I'm just going by off of what she has showed me so far. Right? Wow. I was looking at the wrong notes. I was looking at the notes from yesterday. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Huh. Well, of course it doesn't. It happened yesterday. So, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I feel like that's the general gist of the episode. Now, I might have missed a scene here or a conversation there, but I think you kind of get the idea of what the episode was about. Now, of course, if I missed anything, write in the comment section below, or, well, write in the comment section below. Come to the live stream. We'll sit there and talk more about it there, as well as the other soap operas, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and, yeah, I'll see you then.